Okay, so we may or may not end up with more attendees as we go. Either way, that's fine. We're going to record this so that people can watch it later. If you have any questions kind of as we go, you can type them over in the chat section. There's a spot at the bottom that says chat. You can type in any questions there, and I'll be able to see it and answer it if you want to see something live. Otherwise, if you're watching this later, you can just pretend. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about today is TinkerCAD. So if you are in 3D design, CAD, either 1 or 2, and you don't have access to a computer that can run Fusion 360, we are going to switch to using TinkerCAD for you for the rest of the semester because it will run on a Chromebook just fine. So there is a link in our Canvas class that'll take you to TinkerCAD. It'll have a login or a page that looks rather like this. You can click sign in with Google. Here, let me see if I can show. No, I'm already logged in. So click sign in with Google and you can use your BSD account, your 6-digit number at bsd48.org and the same password that you use elsewhere. That'll get you in just fine. Okay, so when you first log into TinkerCAD for the very first time, it is going to automatically load up some lessons for you. And so I'm going to go find the very first one of those so you see what it looks like. It's called Learning the Moves. So here it is. It has some instructions over on the left for what you should be trying to do. This area in the middle is your workspace. And this area on the left has some tools like a ruler and basic shapes that you'll learn how to use as you go along. So for example, let's learn to move shapes along the work plane. So it hasn't asked us to do anything yet, so we're just going to go ahead and click next. All right, and it says just drag the light brown construction to the area outlined in orange. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to click with my left mouse button, drag, and when it looks pretty well lined up, I release. And that's it. It is where it should be. So I'm going to click next. Congratulations, we did it. We learned how to move things in 3D. Hooray. So when we hit done, it's going to automatically take you to the next lesson, which in this case is camera controls. So it has about 6, maybe 8 lessons that are automatically going to start the very first time you log into TinkerCAD. And I highly recommend going through those lessons to learn kind of how the interface works. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so all right, so we have looked at how to log into TinkerCAD. We have looked at the lessons that load automatically, and then I just want to show you a little bit about what it looks like when you go to create your own design. So if over here I'm on 3D Designs, I'm going to hit Create New Design. Okay, and so we have some things that load automatically. That's this big blank work plane. And I'm going to show you a few of the things that are also in those lessons, but just good to have reminders of. So if I click and hold with my left mouse button and drag, that's going to let me select things, except I don't have anything out here to select. So I'm going to pull some stuff out real quick. Okay, so if I click and hold with my left mouse button, that's going to let me select things in a box. If I click and hold with my right mouse button, that's going to let me change the perspective of my work plane so I can see what's happening from different angles. Okay, and the scroll wheel will zoom in and out, and then if I click and hold the scroll wheel and pull, it'll let me shift the whole plane side to side, front and back. All right, now if you're doing this on a Chromebook and you do not have access to a 3-button mouse, you can still do all of those things. Some of them are just a little more tricky. Your regular touchpad with your left mouse click will still let you highlight, but to change your perspective, you're going to hold on to this block and move it instead if you don't have a right click. Okay, and for zoom, you can zoom in and out just like that. Okay, all right. So all those things are still doable, but they are a little easier with a 3-button mouse. If you need one of those and you don't have access to one, send me an email and I'll see what I can do. Okay. All right. So make sure I don't have any questions waiting. Okay, we're doing all right. All right. So one of the next things that you really want to be able to do in TinkerCAD is use some of these shapes, and there are a lot of them. A lot can be done with just the basic shapes like a box and a cylinder or a sphere, and you just click and hold and drag that out. It's going to, by default, be on the work plane, right? This big blue thing. It's going to automatically line up so its base is flat on the plane there. If you want it to be somewhere else, you can do a couple of things. You can click and then drag it using this black arrow. That's going to let it get upward. See that? Now it's hovering. Or if you want it to automatically line up on a different plane, that's what we use this other work plane button for. So if I click and drag this work plane out, say on top of this cylinder here, now I have this temporary work plane that's right on top of a cylinder. And now if I drag something out, it's going to automatically drop exactly on that work plane, which is kind of handy. And if I'm done with that and I want to go back to the default, I just drag it out into the space and it'll go back to where it usually starts. Okay. We can also change how big and small things are by dragging the little white boxes at the edges, like so. Can make it taller or shorter by dragging that top one. If I want things to remain proportionally the same, you can hold down the Shift key on your keyboard while you're doing that, and I won't be able to distort its shape. Okay. To move things around, you just click with your left mouse button to select it, and then click and hold, and drag it around wherever you want it to go. All right, another really handy tool to get you started is the ruler. And I'm going to click and drag that one out just the same. I like to put mine down in the corner here, but you could actually put it anywhere out in your work area and it'll work just fine. So the nice thing that the ruler does is now when I click on a shape, since I have the ruler out, it's going to tell me the dimensions, the X, Y, and Z coordinates or sizes of that shape. So here you can see it's 28 by 63 by 29.44. It'll also tell you how far away it is from wherever you put the ruler. So when I put it at the corner here, I can see that it's 107 millimeters from that corner this way and 52 that way. What's really nice about having the ruler out is I can now edit any of these measurements directly. So say, I don't think 29.44 is a terribly useful measurement. I'm just going to click on that and type in 30, and now it's exactly 30. Okay, so that is really handy. If you're wondering 28 and 30 what, you can come down here to edit grid. By default, it's going to be in millimeters. If you would prefer to think in inches, you can change it to inches. Now if I click update, okay, so now you can see that that is 1.102 inches and 2.48 inches instead of millimeters or centimeters. And you can change that back pretty directly. All right, so now you can see we can move things around, we can resize them, we can know how big or small they are. The next most important thing to know how to do is to combine shapes and to cut holes. So I am going to show you both of those. So I'm going to get this block over here to be kind of halfway on top of this weird oval shape that I've made. All right, now if I want those things to stay together forever and now be joined, I want to join them or combine them. So I can do that a couple of ways. I can try and draw a box that includes those two things and only those two things. You can see that they've been selected because they're highlighted in this kind of light blue that goes all the way around the edges. Okay, and then I can click join or group up here. All right, so now these two things will move together. By default, it will usually change them to the same color. If you don't like that and you want them to stay multicolor, you can just click that box right there. But they'll still remain joined. Okay, so I'm going to ungroup them so I can show you the other way to select things. Sometimes it can be hard to get a box around just a few items and not accidentally get something else as well. So here's how we do that. We can click our first item. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click the second item. So now I have chosen only the things that I want to group together. I hit group, there we go. They are joined and I got only the pieces that I wanted, nothing else. All right, so what goes along with the group command is the idea of cutting a hole out of something, which is one of the really cool, powerful things you can do really easily in TinkerCAD. So say I want to cut this ball shape out of the side of my weird shape I've got going here. So I'm just going to tell TinkerCAD that I want it to be a hole by clicking this right here next to the colors. So now you can see it looks kind of transparent. You can see through it from the side and see kind of into that shape. So now when I choose both my solid grouped object and the hole, I'm going to hold down Shift and click that sphere hole. And now when I group these, it has cut that sphere shape out of the side of my larger shape. You see that okay? And you can do that with any sort of shape. So I'm gonna bring out a cone and tell it that this cone is gonna be a hole and choose both of those and group them together. Now I have part of a cone hole in the side. So it's one of the really cool things you can do in TinkerCAD is make just anything a hole to cut out from the larger shape. All right, so that was kind of a lot of TinkerCAD really quick. I'm going to go ahead and stop there since I don't think we have any questions for now. The assignment basically for both CAD 1 and CAD 2 is posted on Canvas on that main page for either class. If you do not have access to a computer with Fusion 360, TinkerCAD is a great option. So we're going to do the same projects, just in a different software. If you have any questions, you just have to let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. And then there are resource pages for TinkerCAD in our Canvas class already. So you can go check them out there.